Lisa Harrington's finger trembled over the Enter key. 6 weeks of careful preparation, 47 lines of code, and the fate of every human in the galaxy balanced on that single keystroke. The air in the support bay tasted of recycled oxygen and alien disinfectant. Sharp, chemical flowers that made her miss the stale coffee smell of her old NSA cubicle. Through her headset, Admiral Krex's voice ground out syllables like a bureaucrat processing forms. Human Unit Designation, Lisa. Fleet communication networks demonstrate synchronization inefficiencies. Immediate optimization required. Lisa's free hand found the stress ball she'd fashioned from alien putty, squeezing it until her knuckles went white. 20 years of hunting Chinese state hackers through Pentagon networks, and now she was about to become one herself. "I can resolve this permanently, Admiral," she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Just need you to authorize a temporary security elevation." The Kytherians had handed Earth's most experienced penetration testers legitimate access to their entire digital empire and called it customer service. They were about to learn why humans had invented the phrase, "Be careful what you wish for." Authorization granted. Human Unit. Proceed with optimization protocols. Lisa pressed Enter. The authentication virus slithered through the Kytherian military network like smoke through a cracked window, invisible to their monitoring systems, but granting her administrative access to everything from ship navigation to planetary defense grids. Another piece of the puzzle that had been assembling itself since the day she'd first sat in this godforsaken chair. Upload complete, Admiral. Your fleet communications should now operate at maximum efficiency. She terminated the call and glanced at the security camera in the corner, its red light blinking like a lazy eye. To anyone watching, she was just another conquered human, diligently fixing alien technical problems. The perfect camouflage for the galaxy's largest cyber warfare operation. Her hands were still shaking. They hadn't stopped since the day the ships arrived. The Supremacy's edge had appeared above Earth like a metal mountain range, bristling with weapons that could turn continents to glass. The surrender had taken 6 hours, the workforce allocation had taken 6 days, the nightmares had taken 6 weeks to fade. Human Unit Designation, Technical Support Level 2, the Kytherian administrator had announced through its translation device 4 arms gesticulating with mechanical precision. Biological entity demonstrates adequate familiarity with primitive computational systems. Entity will provide assistance to collective personnel experiencing operational difficulties. Lisa had almost laughed. Adequate familiarity. She'd spent 15 years reverse engineering Russian malware and hunting zero-day exploits through classified networks. But the aliens looked at Earth's primitive internet and saw exactly what they expected. A backward species just competent enough to answer phones and reset passwords. They'd handed her a master key to galactic civilization and called it manual labor. The Meridian Support Center sprawled across a space the size of 3 aircraft hangars, 200 human workstations, separated by soundproof barriers that hummed with white noise. Multiple alien supervisors patrolled between the rows, their compound eyes reflecting the harsh overhead lighting like broken mirrors. Shift schedules designed to minimize human contact. Standard prisoner management protocol. Except for one critical oversight, they'd given each prisoner legitimate network credentials and official authorization to resolve technical issues using appropriate administrative access. Lisa had spotted Marcus Webb on her second day, former NSA cybersecurity analyst, author of 3 classified papers on infrastructure penetration testing. He'd been hunched over his terminal in Section C, fielding calls about password resets while his eyes tracked something far more interesting on his secondary monitor. During their 15-minute lunch break, he'd caught her eye and tapped his temple twice. Message received. By the end of week 1, they'd established communication through error logs and maintenance reports, hiding messages in diagnostic data that the aliens dutifully filed and ignored. By week 2, they'd identified 47 other humans with security backgrounds scattered throughout the facility. By week 3, they'd begun mapping the Kytherian digital infrastructure one support ticket at a time. The aliens thought they were fixing problems. They were right, just not the problems they expected. Lisa's workstation chimed with an incoming priority call, dragging her back to the present. Governor HFY of the Kepler Mining Collective materialized on her screen. His 4 arms flailing in what she'd learned was the Cytherian equivalent of barely controlled panic. Human unit Lisa. Planetary Defense Grid displays authentication errors. System efficiency degraded by 12 standard units. Lisa pulled up the governor's system profile while opening a hidden partition on her secondary drive, her fingers moving with the practiced efficiency of a safecracker. The Kepler Mining Collective controlled 17 worlds and enough automated defenses to hold off a battle fleet. More importantly, their security protocols were built on trust hierarchies. Compromise one administrative account, and you could claw your way up through the entire network like climbing a ladder. I can optimize that for you immediately, Governor. The authentication errors suggest your security certificates need updating. I'll push a patch to your defense grid. Her secondary monitor displayed the real virus, a rootkit that would give her permanent backdoor access to every defensive installation in the Kepler system. To the automated audit logs, it would register as routine maintenance. To Lisa, it was another star system under human control. How long will this optimization require? Lisa's pulse quickened as she began the upload. 20 years of hunting hackers guiding her through pathways the aliens had never imagined could be compromised. Approximately 8 minutes for a complete refresh, Governor. You'll see significant efficiency improvement once the new certificates propagate through your grid. The progress bar crawled forward. 30%, 50%, 75%. Lisa squeezed her stress ball and tried not to think about what would happen if the governor's security team decided to run an integrity check in the next 3 minutes. Patch installation complete. Please restart your defense grid and confirm improved performance. 3 minutes later, Governor HFY reported full operational efficiency. What he didn't report was that Lisa now had administrative access to enough firepower to crack planets. She marked the ticket as resolved and opened her secure partition. Inside, a database was growing. Compromised systems, access credentials, network topologies. Not random hacking, but systematic infrastructure mapping, the kind of comprehensive penetration testing that could topple governments. Her comm unit buzzed with a maintenance alert from Marcus. 3 words buried in diagnostic code. Catalyst in place. Lisa smiled for the first time in weeks and closed the partition. Phase 2 was ready to begin. The banking network called at exactly 1:47 p.m., just as Marcus had predicted. For 3 weeks, they'd been tracking Cytherian financial patterns, learning how the collective's economy pulsed through digital arteries that touched every world, every military installation, every government facility. Treasury Administrator Vexquin materialized on Lisa's screen, his translator rendering his agitation in clipped, precise English. Human Unit Lisa. Central banking experiences computational delays during large-scale transfers. This inefficiency impacts resource allocation across multiple sectors. Lisa's pulse quickened, but her hands had finally stopped shaking. The banking network was the crown jewel. Control financial systems, and you controlled everything else. But it was also the most heavily defended target, protected by security protocols that would make Pentagon hackers weep with envy. I can resolve that inefficiency, Administrator. The computational delays indicate algorithmic bottlenecks in your transaction processing cores. I'll need to run a comprehensive diagnostic to identify optimization opportunities. Acceptable parameters. Duration of diagnostic procedure. Lisa's secondary monitor displayed the logic bomb Marcus had spent 2 weeks crafting, a dormant program that would redistribute funds from military accounts to resistance cells hidden across a dozen worlds. But installing it would require 30 minutes of administrative access to the collective's most secure systems. 30 minutes with her hands inside the vault. 30 minutes for complete analysis, Administrator. During this time, I'll need elevated access to your processing cores to perform deep optimization. Authorization granted. Proceed with maximum efficiency protocols. Lisa began the diagnostic, her fingers dancing across interfaces that represented the economic heartbeat of an empire. The Cytherian banking system was paranoid security incarnate, quantum encryption, biometric authentication, behavioral analysis algorithms that could detect suspicious patterns in microseconds. But it had one fatal vulnerability. It assumed that anyone with legitimate administrative access was trustworthy. And Lisa's access was completely legitimate, granted by the aliens themselves for technical optimization purposes. The irony was so perfect it made her teeth ache. 28 minutes later, she'd planted logic bombs in 17 critical financial nodes, hidden behind optimization routines that would actually improve system performance until the moment she activated them. Beautiful, elegant, and completely invisible to their audit systems. Diagnostic complete, Administrator. I've implemented several efficiency improvements. Your transaction processing should now operate at optimal capacity. Excellent optimization, human unit. The collective's decision to utilize human computational skills continues to demonstrate beneficial outcomes. Lisa ended the call and opened a secure text channel to Marcus. Bank vault open. Ready for withdrawal. His response came back immediately. Phoenix authorization confirmed. T-minus 72 hours. The message arrived during her sleep cycle, transmitted through a network of compromised maintenance systems she'd been building for 6 weeks. She found it blinking on her personal tablet, hidden between routine diagnostic reports. Security audit scheduled. 3 days. All access logs to be reviewed. Source: Admin Terminal 7. Lisa's blood turned to ice water. A comprehensive security audit would expose everything. Every back door, every elevated privilege, every piece of malicious code they'd hidden in optimization routines. 72 hours to complete their operation, or watch 200 humans get spaced for treason. She keyed her workstation and sent a single character through the hidden network. 7. Across the support center, her fellow technicians would receive that signal and know that Phoenix was no longer a plan. It was survival. The coordinated attack began during morning shift change, when Cytherian supervisors were focused on handoff reports and humans moved between stations with minimal oversight. Lisa sat at her terminal, fielding what appeared to be routine support calls while secretly orchestrating the galaxy's largest cyber warfare operation. The air in the support center felt electric, charged with the barely contained energy of 200 humans who had finally stopped pretending to be helpless. Her headset crackled with an urgent call from Defense Coordinator Thex Ma, his 4 arms visible in the video feed as he gestured frantically at displays Lisa couldn't see. Human unit Lisa, critical emergency situation. Planetary defense networks demonstrating cascading failures across 37 sectors. Immediate correction required. Lisa's secondary monitor displayed the real-time status of Phoenix. Backdoors activating across the galaxy, human-controlled programs taking over critical infrastructure, financial systems beginning the redistribution sequence. 6 weeks of systematic penetration testing coming to fruition in one synchronized moment. I'm detecting the same anomalies, Coordinator. This appears to be a cascading authentication failure. Let me implement an emergency fix. What she actually implemented was the final phase of Phoenix. Across the galaxy, the access points she and her fellow technicians had spent weeks creating opened simultaneously. Planetary defense grids locked out their own operators. Military communication networks rerouted through human-controlled relays. Financial systems began hemorrhaging funds to resistance accounts scattered across the outer rim. But the masterstroke was the communication takeover. Every Cytherian military channel, administrative network, and emergency broadcast system suddenly carried the same message, transmitted in perfect collective syntax. Attention Cytherian forces. This is the Human Liberation Network. Your digital infrastructure now belongs to us. Stand down immediately, or discover why our species invented the concept of mutually assured destruction. Lisa's terminal erupted with panicked calls from across the Empire. She answered each one with professional courtesy and a smile that would have terrified her old co-workers. Galactic Help Desk, this is Lisa. How can I assist you today? Human unit. Our entire fleet command structure has been compromised. Reverse this immediately. I'm afraid that's not a technical support issue, Admiral. That's a strategic miscalculation. You gave administrative access to the same species that created viruses, Trojans, and social engineering. We've been documenting your vulnerabilities since day one. Through her hijacked access to high command security feeds, Lisa watched Cytherian officers frantically attempting to regain control of their own systems. Every attempt failed. The humans had built their takeover using the aliens' own protocols, exploiting trust mechanisms designed to prevent exactly this kind of systematic infiltration. Marcus Webb's voice crackled through her earpiece. All primary targets secured. We have root access to everything. Lisa keyed her microphone to broadcast on all Cytherian military frequencies. Around her, 200 other humans stopped pretending to be technical support and began openly coordinating the galaxy's new digital infrastructure. This is Lisa Harrington. You called me technical support. You were wrong. Defense Coordinator Thexmar reappeared on her screen, his forearms trembling with barely controlled rage. You have violated every protocol of legitimate technical support. Support personnel do not possess authorization for military operations. You're absolutely right, Coordinator, Lisa replied, her voice professionally calm while her heart hammered against her ribs. Technical support personnel don't have that authorization, but cybersecurity specialists do. And that's what we've always been. She pulled up a holographic display showing the galaxy's digital networks, all of them now secured with Earth-designed encryption, all of them running through human-controlled infrastructure, all of them responding only to human administrative commands. You made one critical error in your workforce allocation. You assumed that primitive origins meant primitive capabilities, but survival in a hostile digital environment doesn't make you backward. It makes you very, very good at breaking things. Lisa's fingers moved across her interface with the confidence of someone who finally had control. Across the galaxy, every Cytherian military installation received new orders: stand down, release all human prisoners, and prepare for negotiations with Earth's restored government. The difference between technical support and cyber warfare, Coordinator, is just a matter of scope. And we've just expanded our scope to include galactic liberation. In the aftermath, as Cytherian fleets found themselves locked out of navigation systems and ground forces discovered their weapons wouldn't respond to non-human biometrics, the true scope of the human operation became clear. Lisa stood in the support center, no longer pretending to work at her assigned terminal. The soundproof barriers had been lowered, and for the first time in weeks, humans were talking to each other openly. The sound was beautiful. 200 voices coordinating the galaxy's new digital infrastructure, planning supply drops to liberated worlds, organizing the systematic release of human prisoners from labor camps across the Outer Rim. Marcus approached her workstation, his tablet displaying status reports from freed colonies across the galaxy. His smile was the first genuine expression she'd seen from him since the day the ships arrived. Final count. We've got administrative control over 847 major systems, including primary defense networks for 63 worlds. Financial redistribution is proceeding ahead of schedule. And Lisa? He paused, his voice soft, with something that might have been awe. 0 human casualties. Apparently, it's hard to fight back when your weapons won't recognize your biometrics. Through the center's massive windows, the lights of the Cytherian administrative complex flickered as human-controlled systems implemented new security protocols. 200 technical support specialists had just conquered a galactic empire, one helpdesk call at a time. Lisa looked at the feeds streaming in from across the galaxy, humans emerging from detention centers, resistance cells coordinating with newly liberated defense forces, children seeing sunlight for the first time in months. 20 years of hunting hackers through classified networks, and this was the hack that mattered. Ma'am? Marcus gestured toward his tablet. We're getting requests for assistance. Apparently, our new security protocols are experiencing user interface difficulties with non-human operators. Lisa looked at the incoming support tickets, thousands of them, flooding in from across the galaxy as Cytherian personnel discovered they could no longer access their own systems. She thought about her old cubicle at the NSA, about reset passwords and routine maintenance calls, about the smell of stale coffee and the familiar weight of helping people solve their problems. Some things never changed. She smiled and put her headset back on. Galactic Help Desk. This is Lisa. How can I assist you today?